Hi, I'm Megan Luther.
Hi, I'm Pernell Quinn.
And we are The Simple Life. Today, Pernell and I are going to discuss a little bit about what happened in the most recent lawsuit between a couple of huge brokerages and sellers in the real estate industry having to do with brokerage compensation. And Pernell, I know this is one of your favorite topics, so give us a little insight as to what happened and what impact that's having on both buyers and sellers in the real estate community as well as agents.
Well, what's happened is the real estate community has finally realized the idea of a commission, both the seller side and the buyer side commission, is clear as mud, right? So the new agents are confused, the new brokerages are confused, the clients are definitely confused about what it means and how it works. We could take you back to the 60s, but we don't have to do that.
Actually, elaborate on that.
Back in the 1960s, you got a buyer's agent and you had a seller's agent. Mm-hmm. So now the buyer's agent is actually going to hire their own agent. And this should make real estate much more simple and consumer friendly. And the reason I say it'll make it more friendly is because you are now hiring an agent as the buyer to work directly for you. The buyer's agents are going to go negotiate their commission. Let's use 10% because I like easy numbers. So you find a house, you put it under contract for $100,000. The buyer has a 10% commission. The seller has a 10% commission, which is 20% on top. They would take that $100,000 back in the 1960s and they would add both commissions on top of it. Mm-hmm. Now, if the house didn't appraise, the people that lost the money first were the agents. Now, in your contract, you would put a stopgap in your contract that would allow you to say, once we get to 5% of my commission, you can't reduce my commission anymore. The seller or the buyer has to give. The reason this makes this better for the buyer and the seller is there are many agents out there that we do what they call buying a listing, and that is where they know they are overpricing a house. They're telling the client that the house is worth $200,000 instead of $100,000 just to get the listing. What this does is it's going to hold people's feet to the fire on the real value of a home and what the commissions are really worth. It also gives the buyer the option to decide how much he wants to pay his agent for finding a home, mm-hmm. or her agent. The reason that becomes better for you as a client is you get to go choose your buyer's agent and negotiate your commission.
Right.
Now, this wasn't as big of a deal until Zillow posted all of the co-op commissions, cooperative commissions, we call them co-ops, to the buyers. Everybody got to see that they were all the same. And that's where the numbers started clicking and people started saying, hey, there's something wrong with the industry.
It also came to be because there's a lot of agencies, because of that requirement in their ICA, that would go to, hey Parnell, you're a seller, I will list your house for this, but I have to offer 2.8%, 3% to another agent.
Right.
And the sellers would think, okay, so I have to do at least 6% because you're giving it half of it away.
Correct.
And they're good people and they want things to be fair. So then a seller, it dawned on them, why am I having to pay some other agent? And it's how it was presented that caused a lot of this grief and confusion, because again, and how the contract is written, the listing commission is negotiated between the listing agent and the seller.
Correct.
There's also a place in there that says, I'll agree to offer a co-op. So it's established, it's upfront, and those conversations around that are where sellers felt misled or cornered and felt like they had to at least offer a certain percentage, otherwise no buyer's agents would bring their clients to view the property or make offers.
Right. And what the real estate industry, and not just NAR, but the state regulations. So in Colorado, it's called DORA, Department of Regulatory Agencies, right? So DORA actually had put into the contracts, and I think it was in the late 90s, early 2000s, that cooperative commission to the buyer's agent superseded the MLS. So if you put in a commission in there, it was guaranteed that commission would be paid to the buyer's agent, which now made it friendlier for people that were working outside your MLS. Let's say there's an agent in Denver that found a buyer for a house up in Winter Park, Colorado.
And they weren't a member of this MLS.
Correct. They would
still know that they could get paid according to the Division of Regulatory Agencies.
Correct.
The MLSs went above that or around that and said this cooperating commission is only offered if you're a member of this club.
Right. That's because they were starting to put stuff on Zillow. That's why they had to do that. But the contract itself in Colorado anyways, the contract in Colorado says that the co-op commission is due and payable to anybody that brings a successful buyer to the property. That means somebody that actually closes on the property. So now that you have that done, right, you've got your buyer's agent going, you've got your listing agent going, the question comes down again, who's really paying the commission? Is it the buyer or the seller? And the truth is, both the buyer and the seller are paying the commission.
Right.
The heartburn for the sellers were, it feels like it's coming out of their proceeds, right, which they only get from the buyer. And where the heartburn was is, why am I paying, my broker's working hard for me to get my $100,000 from my house. Why am I paying another broker to beat me up on my value of my home and tell me it's worth less because I have old carpets or I don't have the newest chandelier? And they're telling me that the property's not worth it, so the value of my property should go down. Why am I offering that buyer the same commission? And so with the consumers now, what this will do, if the lawsuit actually comes to fruition, it's still in the court cases, however.
Well, to clarify, they did finalize the one decision. It's now being appealed.
Yes, right, they finalized it's being appealed. So there's no new changes in law yet. Okay.
Technically, nothing has changed except the awareness around commissions.
Correct.
The whole point in all of these clubs, associations, boards, right, is it's always under, it seems more under the guise of consumer transparency and protection, and I think it got a little bit away from that, and that's where consumers rose up and said, hey, this isn't right. It'll be interesting to see how it shakes out. As we mentioned, this doesn't technically change anything at this time. The conversation is still ongoing, and we do understand that it can be very confusing. It's all a matter of perspective, you know, which side you're on. A lot of people have extremely strong feelings about this. I think it depends on how you were brought into this industry, how well you understand the contracts, and just how you negotiate as well, right? Like everybody does things a little bit differently. If you're interested in learning more, fill out the form below.